huge news in the United States that is going to, in my view, completely reshape the upcoming presidential election. Now, I've said to you, and I've explained in laborious detail because I want you to know the ins and outs of their system rather than just it's the vote between the MAGA man and the guy who can't walk up the steps properly. The reality is that there are issues and issues that will totally move things around. But I want to talk about the issue that is going to change the game in Arizona. Now, Arizona is the state from which John McCain was the senator for a long period of time, obviously the nominee in 2008. Now, what you can see here is that in 2016, Trump won the state by about 4 points, a traditionally Republican state. Then, thanks to many of the John McCain people actually campaigning against Trump, they ended up voting with Biden and less than 1%. And the question mark is what's going to happen this year. Now, essentially, it is very difficult for Donald Trump to get to 270 electoral votes unless he has Arizona in the pocket. Now, according to the latest polls, that would seem to be where things are trending, with him leading by 3, 5, 8 and 7 on multiple polls which have been running since February. But what is the issue that I told you that has turned deep red places on its head? It's the issue of abortion. Now, in Australia, thankfully, we do not have the same politics that they do, but there was a huge court decision which was made in Arizona yesterday. Now, as you know, the Supreme Court made its decision to send everything back to the states. Well, a poison pill had been put in a piece of legislation which had set an abortion rule at 15 weeks in Arizona that if the Supreme Court had overturned it, then they go right back to zero, to essentially total ban every circumstance on abortion. Well, that law has gone up and down and appealed and all the rest of it. It made it to the Supreme Court. The law has now been upheld, which means Roe versus Wade flipped at the federal court, so we go back to the standard before Arizona was even a state. Now, this automatically means that abortion, which is an issue that outpolls the pro-lifers in Arizona, so now the Democrats say we can win this state. Literally, yesterday we were 8 points down. Today, we could be as much as 5 points up on this issue alone. So Kamala Harris has been sent to the area and she is campaigning hard in and on this issue specifically. Now, as I've shown you before, if all the polls are correct right now, you end up with Donald Trump at about 300 electoral votes. But if you go and have a look at how abortion polls in all of those swing states, if it became the dominant issue, Biden wins by 300 electoral votes. The reason I talk about this in the tone that I do right now is because something that was also held up by the Arizona Supreme Court is that there will be a referendum in Arizona on the issue of abortion on the same day as the presidential election. So even if lefties don't want to back in Biden because of Israel, even if lefties don't want to back in Biden because he's too old, they will turn up in droves to vote to change the standard on abortion. And that is a very bad day for Trump and the Republicans.